Episode 105, A Wound on the Heart. Now, much like the last episode, I feel like there's not much to say about this one, especially considering it was a full on recap episode. I felt like it could have been more entertaining because, they go through the arc before, like, the last full arc, I guess, because the last technical arc, I mean, really, that was only like maybe 10 episodes or so, and technically the Stone Village arc was probably 20 or so episodes, even though they only spent like the last 12 actually in the village. And it's like, oh, okay. I thought it was okay. Like, honestly, it was putting me to sleep. By the end, I was sleepy and I was bored, and I was just like, man, this is kind of annoying because I felt it was obvious. I mean, going through that whole arc, I felt the whole point of that arc was what they did in this episode. I did read one comment where someone mentioned that it was cool to see them recap the arc and kind of just go through all of Mitsuki's emotions and feelings for, what happened during that season. And I was like, okay, I could see how some people might enjoy it. But for me, it was like, I got that the whole way through. Like, that was the whole point. That's why that was my favorite thing about that entire arc, was the fact that Mitsuki left the village because he was trying to grow. He was trying to figure out what it meant to be human. So to have them recap it, I was like, meh. Like, it didn't really mean anything to me. Like, him having this issue of turmoil was just him, them going through the recap and stuff. And really, he it was kind of weird because it was like, it's hard to say he didn't learn anything, but he technically didn't. It was like, the other Mitsuki and Orochimaru were going through his memories, which was super funny because it was like every TV show ever was like, yeah, we got this footage, and it's just the clips from the actual episode instead of it being from a different perspective. It was just the exact same thing. I hate when they do that, but it was just like, at this point, I'm used to it. But it was funny in the comments. I read a couple of people put that down, and I was just like, at this point, you watch so much TV. That's what everybody does. The only time I remember them not doing that exact thing was actually Captain America Civil War. They had it in their trailer where it was just footage from the first Avengers, but when you watch the actual movie, it was legitimately like cell phone footage. And I was like, yes, finally. Because every other TV show ever, it's like, yeah, we got this footage. And it's like, you got a footage that was a close up or a wide shot. I was like, no, you didn't. That doesn't even make sense. So it's always funny doing that. But even in anime form, it's the same thing. Plus, they have to draw it. So I'm like, that's even more work compared to just a live action show where you could literally just film a different angle. But it was just like, okay, they're recapping stuff that I already understood, and it was just like, meh. If it was Mitsuki going through the process and talking to them, I'd probably like it a lot more. But it was literally just the older Mitsuki and Orochimaru rewatching all this stuff, and they're just going back and forth, and Orochimaru's like, oh, okay, that's why he attacked Boruto, because he did this. And then even later, Orochimaru's like, well, he did attack him technically, and he left the village. And so it was like, excuse me, it was like, he's going through and he's once again kind of saying what was already said, which they literally say it in the recap where they have the final villain from that season. He's like, he left you guys behind because he wanted to join us to figure out his own will. And Boruto's like, tell him that's not true. And Mitsuki looks down, and I was like, why'd they put the dialogue in there to have Orochimaru say that, and then they showed it in the recap? And I was like, it doesn't. It's like his point. Like, some stuff was doubled up. And I was just like, it's already a clip show, so it was just like, I felt like there was a way to do it that was more entertaining, because really all they did was basically say he's growing. Like, that's literally what happened. By the end, it was like they went through and it was like, yep, this is how we felt during this is probably why he did this. And it was like, I might have to wipe his memories, which of course we knew wasn't going to happen. And then Mitsuki decides that he wants to keep the memories that he has, even though it hurts him. It's him growing as a character, and that little moment is probably the most entertaining part because it was him actually doing something. Other than that, it was just Orochimaru saying, like, this is why he did this, and that's why he did that. And I was like, well, I kind of got that, which I guess if there were some kids watching, it would probably make a lot more sense for people who are much younger. Like, basically, this is meant to be a kid's show compared to, like Naruto Shippuden and stuff, because those people are me. Like, we already grew up with the original series and grew up to this point where I'm 26 now. So it's like, I already went through all that stuff. I get the mature concepts. I understand some of the deeper elements. But for a kid's show, I could kind of see how that might need a recap. But it was definitely a boring episode where it was just like, I felt like they could have done that without it just being a clip show and just have it where Mitsuki explains what's happening and have Orochimaru talk to him and have him actually go through these processes in real time instead of it just being a clip show of it. Or even have it be a clip show. Like, have it be a clip show, but you have Mitsuki reference it himself instead of, oh, let's go through his memories and pause it here and be like, well, that's what happened there. And it's just like, it could have been done, personally speaking, I think it could have been done in a more entertaining way if it was a bit more interactive with the character that's actually going through the problem itself. And he was passed out the whole episode. And it was like, well, that makes it way less entertaining because it's not from his perspective where he gets that understanding. He only got it at the end, where ultimately he just had to choose, like, do I want to lose all these memories or do I want to keep them and figure out my own pain? And so that concept is why, the ending's good, because it was like, oh, Mitsuki made that decision on his own, but the rest of it, he didn't really get to learn anything personal. Like, he just kind of was there, knocked out, and Orochimaru went through explaining how he felt, and that was really it. And I was just like, it just could have been done better. It could have been him, if he was awake the whole time doing it, I think it would have been a great episode. I think it could have been really entertaining, because it would have built off of what I did enjoy about the last episode, which I was right. This seemed like it was already going to build upon the last one, and they do a direct connection at the end because they do have I forgot the name of the cat. I was about to say Mizukage, but that is obviously not right. That's super close. I know it's like Mizukaze or something like that. So it might be Mizukaze or something like that, or Miyukaze. I can't remember. But they have the cat in there, sleeping with him, and then Boruto and Satoru show up because they want to see the cat and everything. I was like, okay, they make a direct connection. The cat like hops on his shoulder and he smiles and he like rubs the back of its head. And I was like, that's great. I thought that was actually really cool. So I thought that was a good way to directly connect to the last episode, which is meant to be this little set of episodes where it's Mitsuki building as a person, and he chooses to keep his memories, him learning about how to take care of something or love something in the previous episode with the cat. So it was like, it was good. It definitely worked. I just felt the last episode was better because it felt more active compared to, like I said, this episode where he's asleep the whole time and it's just Orochimaru recapping everything that we saw. And I'm like, man, they could have recapped it and just had Mitsuki telling the actual story himself. And I personally think that would have been a lot better, especially considering they went through some stuff that was totally pointless, because they literally went through the beginning when they actually find Onoki. And I was like, that was literally nothing. That was just the beginning of the season. And it was just like, yeah, we have to find this old guy. And I was like, that was literally nothing. It should have started like at the attack or something like that. But they were legitimately going through like the whole thing. And I was just like, they didn't really need to put the actual opening in there where they're like, we have to find this person. And he like hands somebody else a sheet of paper. And I was like, they didn't need that. And like the scene, they literally have a scene with Satoru where she's like, oh, are you Onoki? I'm like, this doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't mean anything. They literally did just a recap. It was like, whole arc, just throw the effing thing in there. If Mitsuki wasn't there, we can't show it, but just all of it, just throw it all in. And I was like, that literal beginning, like there was nothing there. It was just, that was how the arc started. So it was like, just in case you forgot, this is how the arc began, and this is how we got to here. And I was like, that's kind of funny. It was weird that they put that in there, but still think it could have been a much better episode if they had Mitsuki awake and telling his story to Orochimaru, and it was kind of like a therapy session, and they actually go back and forth, and even have the older Mitsuki there. I think that could have been interesting, just to see his perspective, because we really don't know anything about what he's done or what he's learned or been allowed to learn, I guess, in Orochimaru's case. So I would love to have seen that. Like, how do these two different characters help the younger Mitsuki and help him, continue to develop or possibly regress if he decides he wants to have his memories wiped. So I think it could have been better and done in the exact same way, just more entertaining. But instead they just did like the clip show where they're just watching it on TV and Orochimaru was literally just going through like, this is exactly what happened. And it was just like, man, that's not that entertaining. And the only really cool thing was, of course, when Mitsuki was finally awake again, he chose to keep his memories. So didn't enjoy the episode nearly as much as I did the last one. I didn't feel like there was really as much growth. They kind of just recapped it, which I feel, if I'm right, at least them recapping it is like, hey, focus on this because we're going to do some good stuff with Mitsuki. That's the only thing I can think of for them to go through that full recap after, the last episode especially, where he already builds as a character loving this cat. They do a full recap of the last season to be like, hey, here's all the stuff he went through that kind of led up to the stuff with the cat and things like that. Because they're going to soon, at least, go into something that's more entertaining and more developing for his character. So that's my only hope, is that that's why they decided to throw this episode in. I wish it was in reverse. And he decided to keep his memories, and then that led into the cat thing instead, just because this episode bored me. So I would have preferred to have the boring episode and then go into like, oh, it's a growing episode. That would have been more entertaining. But still, these two episodes together, I'm hoping means that they're going to start pushing more towards like singular development for Mitsuki, which is admittedly like my favorite part of the series so far. Like, Satoru's my favorite character, And Sasuke kind of has to come around for some, her development to really kick in a little bit, or at least the greatest elements of it, considering it's the whole absentee father deal. So he has to be there for like the most emotional stuff for her character. But for Mitsuki, it's everything. Like, he's not really even human. So it's him growing as basically like a little kid who's in the body of a teenager. So that's kind of what I want to see. So hopefully that's why they were giving us this full recap, because like in a couple episodes we're gonna get some crazy stuff with this character. So that's what I'm hoping for. Tomorrow's episode, I'm actually looking forward to. We get Mirai, so I'm very excited for that because we haven't had an episode on her yet, and we get to see what she's gonna end up doing. I feel like it's gonna be a comedy filler episode because Guy Sensei is going around with her and Kakashi. So if Guy is there, it probably ain't gonna be that serious. Because he can't fight, he's got one leg. So probably won't be the most serious thing in the universe, but should be awesome. I mean, we get to see Kakashi, so that's always a plus in anything Naruto related because Kakashi is sweet. Mirai, I'm hoping they do a fight sequence. I would love to see that. I would love to see some cool action scenes with her, Kakashi, and Guy Sensei. I think that would just be fun. So we'll see what happens, but I'm looking forward to it. It would be funny if that wasn't Guy and it was actually Rock Lee, but I'm pretty sure it was Guy because I think he had the cast like on his legs, or at least I think he has a cast on one of his legs. I didn't think to actually like check. I was just like, oh, I saw a cast, I'm pretty sure, and I was just like, oh, it's Guy Sensei. He decided to go along with his best friend, and so he's there on the mission. But it totally could have been Rock Lee. Now that I actually think about it, it could have just been that I thought it was a cast, and it was actually Rock Lee. But I'm pretty sure it was Guy. But either way, I'm excited for the episode because it's focused on Mirai Sarutobi. So we finally get some info on her, like a full episode with her. Plus, Kakashi is one of the main characters. Once again, that is always 100% a plus for anything Naruto related. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow's episode. I'm definitely excited for that. But for this one, I was like, I like the cat episode better. But hopefully they did the recap because they're going into something big for Mitsuki's development. That's really all I can hope for. So that's my guess and my hope. Otherwise, this was just a boring episode to me. But we'd love to know what you guys thought about it. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, your least favorite parts about it. If there's anything that really does stand out to you, considering it was really just a clip show episode. Your thoughts on him not, getting rid of his memories, stuff like that. What you hope to see as far as development, of course, is like the big thing. But all in all, definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.